I believe the first public-private partnership. So on the one hand, of course, we have the government support through the Ministry of IT, and second, we have Mobilink Jazz as our corporate partner. So I think that really brings the best of both worlds. And I would like to mention that our organization Team Up manages the incubation center on a day-to-day basis. So for example, you've seen the way that the design has been outlaid. But more importantly, we have a 12-month program that we've developed in-house, comprising of a 16-week curriculum. And then of course we have selected some of the best mentors, both in Pakistan and abroad, who are willing to give their quality time, their experiences, their knowledge, and sometimes their money as well, to these startups. So I think being in Islamabad, obviously we have some advantages as well. In terms of capacity, we have 22,000 square feet. So just by sheer volume, we're probably larger than any of the other incubators. We can host up to 50 startups with about an average of 4 people. So again, 200 people capacity, so that makes us very large. But I think it's not important to be the biggest. Our aspiration is to be the best. So we take what we've seen as international best practices, what's happening in the US, in Europe, and in the Far East, and also culminating in the local environment as well. We know that there have been in the Indian subcontinent a lot of successful entrepreneurs in this environment. So we try to take the international best practices as well as the local lessons learned, and then develop that into our startups that will actually be aspiring for global aspirations, but also working in the local environment. Of course, as entrepreneurs, we face many challenges on a daily basis, and we're trained or try to overcome those challenges. But if I remember, one in particular was probably the launch day itself, because obviously we were trying to put a lot of stuff together. The building was getting complete, you know, the infrastructure, the lighting, the electricity, the mics, the headphones, and so on and so forth. And of course, we had many guests on that particular day, and the guests were not just local guests, but we had international guests as well. So we had to demonstrate that Pakistan could pull it together. Of course, there were many concerns from many quarters that whether we would be able to be ready in time. But I'm happy to report that at the end of the day, it was a long day, it was a tiring day, and the team did a fantastic job. At the end of it, everybody went home happy. Once we've built the NIC and the curriculum, and people are now coming to see the particular activities that are happening here, so we have often guests on a daily basis. And the beauty is that that has created awareness among those people in terms of the quality that we're doing, meeting with the startups, understanding their ideas, their projects, their concepts, and really being inspired by the young people as well. So we've had a lot of offers from non-governmental agencies. We've had institutional organization, academia. So a lot of people have come here, people who are running successful technical businesses and non-technical businesses as well. People who are successful trainers and successful entrepreneurs, and investors as well. So we've seen a lot of people, and I must confess it's great for them to come forward and contribute. So I think, of course, our laws, they are challenging for investors to come into Pakistan, first of all, and then how do they invest in startups? So I think the government really needs to, and we're of course trying to work with the government to create more favorable environment vis-a-vis legislation, where people are comfortable to invest, it's easy to invest, and they have some sort of security or advantages. So just to give you an example, in many countries, startups of course tend not to be very successful in terms of ratio. Many people are of the view that 90% of startups fail, for example. But in some countries, you can often write that failure off against tax. And the benefit of that is that people will become more risk-taking, and they will be able to invest in more startups, and they would be able to, in the event those startups fail, write it off as a tax rebate. And therefore, that would encourage people to invest in startups, which ultimately would improve the number of startups that are successful as well. Appreciate the work of Monis Rahman from Rosie.pk. Not only has he built a successful enterprise for himself and his organization, but he's also very supportive to the National Incubation Center. He's been here a number of times, and he's also shared his story and guidelines towards the startups so that they could be inspired by him. And he's also been helpful in recruiting and selecting our team members as well. So that's one person I would like to appreciate. Also Bahaj Siraj from NIC. Of course, they're our partners as well. So we have very fast broadband speed internet access thanks to NIC. Vaj Saraj in particular. But I would also like to say that he's been here, and again he spoke at one of our sessions where he shared his story. And in fact, we've had many people from abroad, from international universities, successful entrepreneurs, courtesy of the US Embassy. They've been also very supportive to us. But I must confess that Vahaj was probably the most favored because he was the local guy down the road in Pindi, Islamabad, who people can relate to. And because of his success, I think they were inspired कि अगर Vahaj कर सकता है तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते? We're really, again, relatively early stages, and I think that given the population that we have, especially the young population, it's so huge, it's inevitable that we will have more and more people coming into trying to be entrepreneurs and startups, which of course is fantastic. My concern would be the quality of those startups. So unfortunately, somebody just having an idea, a vague idea, doesn't really qualify him to become an entrepreneur or her to become a startup. So I would say that they need to basically, do a lot of work and build upon that idea that they have. And one of the best ways of building upon that idea is going out and sharing their idea with as many people as possible and getting input from mom, dad, brother, friend, teacher, co-worker, whoever the person is. And I think most of the problems that people tend to have is that mera idea na chori ho jayega. So I think, if you have that kind of mentality, you're not really going to be successful. So I think the validation of the idea is very, very important. One of the benefits of working at the NIC is that we work with a lot of young people, and so people like myself who are the oldies, we try to behave like young people just by monkey see, monkey do. So I think it's really great that we have so many young people, and of course young people are full of energy, full of ideas, full of creativity. And then the speakers, the sessions that we have, they're fantastic when they come here and they motivate and they inspire people. That kind of brings out a lot of energy. I think also when you look around, you see the colors and all the other stuff. It's modern. It's very friendly. There are no barriers. There are no offices. There are no rooms, so to speak. It's all open environment where everybody can talk to everybody else. Everybody's accessible. I think that's really fantastic. I think 5 years, of course, in one way seems like a long way down the road, and in many ways it's not that far. I see dramatic changes in the next 5 years, and particularly because of the awareness of startups, incubation, entrepreneurship, becoming more acceptable in society, in our culture, which typically is not accepted today. So mom and dad would prefer you to get a corporate job and get married and live a comfortable life. So that's the normal trend. But I think over the next 5 years, those trends will start to change. Entrepreneurship and startups will become more welcomed, more encouraged within the family environment, within the academic environment. I think the government is also spending a lot of money through the HEC and educating students. So I think that as startup quality improves, and as we get more and more funding into startups, that will create more of a buzz in the region and perhaps even globally. I'm also optimistic that as the prosperity in our region increases through CPEC and various other projects similar to CPEC, I think that we will find that more and more growth would be in this part of the world, given that we have half the world's population on our borders with China and India. I include Bangladesh, Iran, Pakistan. Half the world's population is here, and that's where the economy is going to be growing. We also notice that the developed countries, their economy is struggling and staggering. So perhaps overseas Pakistanis would now consider Pakistan or coming back to Pakistan, not only for the nice weather that we have, but also for economic reasons as well. Pakistan Zindabad.